Hello, this is Tom. Welcome to another Transport Viewer developer video blog. This time I would like to focus on sound effects. There are a multitude of sound effects in Transport Viewer. We invested a lot of time and effort to make sound effects as realistic as possible. Therefore, not only vehicles, which we will focus later on, have sound effects, but also the environment. For example, stations. Each type of station has its own sound effects depending on the usage. The same applies to industries. There are a multitude of industries with very characteristic sound effects. And also here the sound effects vary depending on the utilization of the industry. Also, independent from these particular buildings, the environment itself emits sound depending on the viewport of the camera. For example, city districts emit their own sounds, but also vegetation, but also the elements like wind and water contribute to the overall sound effect. As implied in the beginning, one of the highlights is without a doubt the sound effects of the vehicles. In this example we see, or rather hear, airplane. Airplanes have various sound effects which are mixed together depending on a couple of factors like the speed and the power output to produce sound effects for very typical situations like the takeoff. Planes and also all the other vehicles in the game have sound effects depending on the type and age of the vehicle, but also the mix down of the various sounds is individually done for each vehicle. In addition to the sound which is emitted during operation, vehicles also have their own idle sounds. Trains receive special attention when it comes to the sound effects. They not only emit their own sounds with the engine, but also when they drive on rails. In this example we can hear the rails of the train squeaking while it's going through a very narrow curve. As mentioned before, the sound effect of the vehicles depends primarily on factors like the speed or power output, but to add an additional level of detail, also effects like the squeaking of the brakes are realized. Not only vehicles with engines emit sounds, the same of course applies to vehicles like train wagons. Ships also have sound effects in addition to the engine. For example, you can hear the waves or the sea spray. And as you can hear, ships and also all the other vehicles have their own typical sound effects, a horn or a whistle when they leave the station. This was a small segment of the numerous sound effects which can be discovered in Transport Viewer. We have put a lot of effort into making Transport Viewer not only a game which is nice to look at, but also nice to listen to. Thank you for your attention. We are, as usual, very much looking forward to your feedback and comments. Until then, have a nice time and bye-bye.